why don't we go ahead and get started? Um, Thank you everyone for joining. My name is Carla Quinn. I am one of the board members for CCO. Welcome to Growth Rings, which is a Center for Coaching and Organizations learning event. Before we get started, I just wanted to remind everybody that Zoom offers closed captioning. So in the toolbar at the bottom, click on the CC icon live transcript and click on the box at the bottom to enable live transcription. If you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat or feel free to raise your hand. CCO, as we call it, is a 501(c) nonprofit organization founded by a group of experienced executive coaches and organizational leaders to unleash human potential through coaching and organizations. We unleash human potential by inspiring people to find their voice, supporting leaders to shift their mindsets to solve big, complex, messy problems with grace and clarity. Growing leaders to bring the power of coaching to their organizations and communities they serve, and expanding access to coaching in organizations for all. One way we expand access is through our Growth Ring learning events. You can find Growth Rings and all of our offerings under the events tab on our website. And if you're not on our mailing list already, you can sign up there as well. Our next Growth Rings learning event is on January 18th, which is at the same time using the same Zoom. Another way that we expand our access is through our ICF accredited ECHO program, which is our Executive Coaching and Organizations Coach Education Program. Cohort 9 begins with orientation in February. So I know I saw some on the call. Anybody who is a CCO or UST alum, please give a wave. Let everybody know that you're here. Thank you so much. Happy to see you all. If we also offer ECHO coaching info sessions. The next one is on December 5th at 4:30 p.m. Central. There we'll engage with some coaching content, share a little about ECHO, and answer any questions that you have. Last thing I will share is that today is Give to the Max Day. So I will be putting in the chat our link. We were lucky enough to have some gracious donors who were willing to do a match up to $25,000. So if you are a person that gives on Give to the Max Day, please consider making a donation, and your donation will go twice as far today. So now we get to the best part, which is introducing today's speaker. Please help me to welcome Kelly McIntee. Kelly is a mindset coach for life and business, also known as the Founders Coach. She helps her clients step into their bold founder identity. Whether you're going from career to career or career to business, Kelly helps you to navigate what you can no longer tolerate and step into fulfillment in life and career. Kelly is also a speaker, author, creative entrepreneur, and founder of Founder, the magazine, a digital publication with the mission to inspire new founders by celebrating current founders. Additionally, Kelly is a mother of 2 toddlers, Everett 5 and Lucy 3, with a husband who is a coach in college athletics. They both navigate busy seasons of life, supporting each other in their personal growth and development, and enjoying the quiet moments at home together whenever they can. With that, I will hand things over to Kelly.
Hello. Okay, I laughed. What quiet moments at home? What are those? Did you hear I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old? Oh, must have been.
I like the part
at a coffee
of
shop when I shared that part. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here today. And I'm really excited to get into today's topic, which is curating the right offer for you. So Carla reached out to me about this group and about speaking to all of you, and she shared a little bit of background about the group and some of your certifications and things like that, and how within coaching and getting certified, wherever your certification is through, whether you're certified or not, even something that is often not addressed in many coaching programs is like, you're certified and then what? Like, then how do you get your business out there? How do you put it out there? And so when Carla and I connected to talk about what to present to all of you, this just really came to mind as an essential part of putting your businesses out there. And so I would love to, before I love to know who I'm talking to and that sort of stuff. So to just kind of get a feel of the room of, like, raise your hand if you are out actively like working with clients in your coaching business. Or how about, I'm going to change it to this. Leave a 1 in the chat if you're like out actively working with coaching clients out in the world within your business, or leave a 2 if you are really kind of getting started in navigating, getting out there and putting yourself out there in your business, just to kind of know what we're working with here. And okay, awesome. So it's a mix, a pretty steady mix, half and half about. Perfect. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. I do have a presentation up, but this is also going to be a very interactive experience where you're here on your time, and your time is precious and valuable. So my goal for our time together today too is that you do leave here with an offer that you can start sharing with the world. And if you already have a coaching offer, and I'll get into like, what does offer mean too, and things like that, that maybe you already have an offer that you fall like 10 times more in love with it by the end of our time together today. Because the intent behind this is that I want you to know who you help and how you help them. So when you're out in the world, you can so easily tell a person like, hey, I can help you with that. And you can navigate those conversations that then come from seeing the gaps, seeing the opportunities of where you can help people. So it is in our time today that you'll walk away with an offer. So make sure that you have a notebook and pen. And if you're willing to participate and perhaps get coached in some parts or share what's coming up for you, that is always welcome as well. So I'm going to share my screen here. If I can get that going. And okay, are we all good and seeing this? Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Okay, so you're a coach. So where are the clients? That's what the goal of this conversation is today, is to bring the people to you that you're meant to help and to serve. And you'll see throughout this presentation, I'm a person who loves color. I can be, I go deep, and we go into like deep thoughts and stuff, but I'm also like spunky and fun and keep things light. It's that balance. And I say it's like I'm a mix woo and a mix practical. And I think that's what's going to come through in today's session as well, is you're going to dive in and get some real deep introspective go introspectively with yourself and see, like, what are my thoughts about my offer? What are the ways where I'm holding myself back? But then we're also going to do the work and get yourself out there so that you can start helping the people that you're meant to help. Or if you're already helping them, help them even more, like in a clear, concise way. So what we're going to do is we're going to curate that offer. And so I'm just kind of move. So there we go. I had to move the screen on the side. So you might be here because there's some problems you're experiencing. Perhaps you've gotten certified and you have really amazing coaching tools. Like, you have a deep toolbox, but you're not sure necessarily how to market them, how to talk about them out in the world. Or another problem you might be experiencing is that you freeze when people ask you about what you do or how you help people. And you want clients, but you aren't sure like where to even start. So we're going to address all of those things here today. So you're going to create an offer from head to toe. You're going to create clarity for yourself on how you help people and why that matters. Like it's a big deal that you're able to help people, and we're going to get really clear on why that matters so much. And you're going to be able to start telling people, I can help you with that. And so I also want to add too, like, what if you already have an offer that you love? What if you already are helping people? I just want to note, like, okay, you're here for a reason. Maybe it's simply to learn more, but maybe something is slightly off about like the work that you're putting out there is. Maybe it's not selling the way you want it to. Maybe you're not connecting with the right people. There might be just something a little bit off. Or another reason that you're here is that it's really time to double down and fall even more in love with what your offer is, so that you can speak more loudly and boldly and confidently about it. Maybe you're not showing up in the rooms that you want to be showing up in, and this today will help get you there. So I'm me. I'm Kelly. I'm an Enneagram 2, Wing 3 man, like all of those personal modalities, if that's of interest to you. I've included those there. I've had a journey with those personality type of things. I used to see them as like limiting and like, don't tell me what to do, don't tell me how to be or who I am. But as I've learned more about them and seen the ways that I do resonate with them, they've actually helped me like be more myself and understand perhaps like why I am the way I am, or why certain things bother me or excite me or resonate with me. Yeah, I'm an Enneagram 2, Wing 3. I'm a manifester in human design. I make cookies when I'm bored. I discovered that last weekend. We were just having like a low-key weekend at home, and I made cookies. And I'm known to paint rooms in my house often. I'm a go-getter in that sort of way. If a room starts to bother me in the house, I'm going to go paint it, and we're going to get it the way it needs to be, and then we can just move on with life. And as far as my strengths go, I'm a futuristic woo communicator, input, and ideation. So that's like me, that's Kelly, right? So we all have our own selves too. Like we are all of these hats that we wear as our professions and our relationships, and parents or not parents, dog moms or not dog moms, all these different hats that we wear. But, then we are our own selves too. And then one of the hats I wear is I'm a coach. I have a public health background. So my background is in the government and nonprofit world, working in public policy. Specifically, I worked in passing policies that would reduce access to tobacco products, so to keep them out of hands of our young people, and to make the health risks more known as more innovative products have come out onto the market. And for a long time, I was really resisting like how my professional work impacted my coaching work. And as I learned to see how those two worlds collided, what I did professionally in my public health role is I helped people in my community be an advocate for topics that mattered to them and make a change at a community level. And in coaching, what I do is I help clients become advocates for themselves. And allow that ripple effect to occur as well. Like when you can advocate for your wants and needs and what matters to you, you get to be that example for other people. And then perhaps at the end of the day, that has you, bringing you back to the public policy work that I did, that you're on platforms and places and stages where you're advocating for things that matter to you. I started my business working more in the realm of health coaching, but I learned that the more I worked with people and helped them through their health struggles, I just saw like the less obsessed people became about their bodies, the more obsessed they could become about their dreams, their purpose. And I noticed that really resonated with me. And I kind of began to lose interest in talking about the health things and was more interested in the relationships that they were healing and helping them find their purpose. And so that's how I've transitioned from the health coaching to more of like the life and business mindset coaching, is to help catch people when they're ready to take those next steps into their dream career, dream life, dream relationships, those sorts of things. And so at the end of the day, within my business, advocacy, peace, and possibility are some core values that are areas of help that I work with people. And as Carla said, I'm also founder of Founder Magazine. It's a newer digital publication that I released in September. And the intent of it is to celebrate new founders by highlighting current founders. And that has been such a fun experience, something I wasn't at the beginning of the year. I had no idea that this was going to be something I was going to be creating or putting out in the world. And even as I was creating it, I didn't know if it was something. It's like one of those things that those ideas that kind of like lands in your lap and you have no choice but to run with it. That's kind of how that idea came to me. The idea dropped in and I said, okay, I guess we're going for it. We're doing this. So that's been really fun. And then also I am a mother of two and I'm married. And my biggest teachers in life are those that are closest to me. The things you learn from your children and your partner are very impactful. And I believe that we are with the people that we are with in our life to help perhaps heal parts of us, to help us become who we've always been made to be. And they're just there to sometimes hold up the mirror of places where we get to change, improve, grow, develop, heal, all of those sorts of things. So that's a bit about me. And so there's this idea that I want to bring to you, like what came first, the chicken or the egg, and how that relates to this conversation. When we think about putting our coaching businesses out there, we think about this conversation of like, who is our best fit client? What's the niche? How do I help people? It's like there's all of these different things that we can spend time answering, and we can go back and forth debating like which one matters first to figure out. But at the end of the day, they all inevitably impact one another. And so we're going to just decide. We're going to decide which one we're going to focus on today. And you already know this by being here. That's your offer. But I want to just share with you that kind of how these three components work together. So your offer is the result that you create for your clients. And it's that thing that you're selling to the world. It's your coaching package. It's your consulting package. It's whatever you're putting out into the world. And the container which it is in, that is your offer. Then curriculum is the steps you take to achieve the result that you promise with your offer. And then clients are the people who you are speaking to specifically. Your best fit clients are who you're talking to. So we could like sit here and think through like who is the best fit client. And for me personally, that's a great conversation to have, but I've always struggled with that because, and we'll talk about this more in depth throughout the presentation too, but I've struggled with that because it's not for me necessarily like who I'm helping inevitably reveals itself when I focus more on the how and what I'm helping them with. And so that's why we are focusing on our offer here today. And so the offer that we are putting out there, it's the catalyst for us to meet ourselves. So what's going to come up today as we workshop here of like creating our offer is you're going to notice thoughts about your coaching, about the way you help people, about pricing, about all of these different things. And those thoughts are simply what the offer is meant to reveal. It's like the work that you're meant to uncover and go through and work through to help you put yourself out there in the world. And that's again like the value of coaching. And that's why this is something I help my clients with deeply, is when we name our offer and get really clear on the pricing, the result, the timeline, all of those sorts of things. That's where we get to perhaps meet our money story. We get to learn about what we believe we can do to help people. And so as you go through this today, we're going to talk about sometimes some of those thoughts that might be coming up, those objections that we're experiencing with our own selves, these judgments, beliefs, etc. So I want you to, as we go through this today, to just be aware of yourself and noticing perhaps the thoughts that are coming up as we take the time to put together what your offer is. So an offer contains a result. So that is like, what are you helping people achieve? Like, what change are you creating for them? And with coaching specifically, sometimes this can feel challenging. And this is where we get hung up on like struggling to market it, because sometimes our result can be something very tangible. And sometimes it feels like the result that we're creating is something that is intangible. And so again, that's like part of the work too, is like identifying how can you make this intangible result feel more tangible, feel like, okay, this is something where people will know that they've achieved this result. An offer also contains a price. So I like to think of it as like, what is a steal of a deal investment that people will make? And when you think of pricing, and why I put in there like a steal of a deal, is that part of the work of creating your offer is to price it at a point where, and we'll go more in depth with this too as we walk through this, but it's to price it at a point where you feel good putting it out there, like it's of value to you. It reflects like what feels good for you. It's one that you can have your own back on. And it's also one that doesn't create a lot of mind drama, a lot of judgment, a lot of frustration or hesitation for us to even talk about it. So we'll talk about like naming your price for your offer as well. And then an offer also is a time frame. So we want to think about how long will it take for us to deliver the result? Or another way of thinking of this too is like the experience. So like the method in which we are helping people. So I put in here some like silly graphics and things like that, but I want you to become a smitten kitten with your offer. Like I want you to love it so much that you just cannot stop talking about it and just be like, so like, the world needs this offer. Like it's vital that you're obsessed with your offer. It's vital that you are obsessed with the way that you know you can help people. And if you aren't obsessed yet, like that's okay. That's why we're here. And if it takes you a little time to become obsessed, to become smitten about the way that you help people, then that's what coaching is for too. Like that's what this work is for, is to help you see all the ways that your offer and the work that you do and put out in the world is so amazing. And there's some faces here in this room that I have personally worked with. Either I've received mentorship from, or I have coached myself. And I'm looking at you, Lisa Harris. Your offer of narrative coaching, that is something to be smitten about. Like you know, up and down, left and right, all of the ways that is something that is so healing and profound for people. Or Heather, I see you, like where you're going, you know, within you, like what I'm creating is going to be so good. It's then just putting those logistical pieces into place. Like, how do I help people? What is the method? So one thing that I really get really passionate about is that you create for you first. And again, I think that's sometimes where we get it a little bit backwards. We think about, what do they want? And that's great to consider the audience. Like, but I want to say like that will come once you get clear on what it is you're creating. So some things what I mean by create for you first, I have a typo in there, create for you first, is to remember you're the genius. Like you are a genius. You are you have perhaps learned these different coaching tools. You've had your own professional and personal experiences. All of those things I said in the beginning about myself, I'm an Enneagram 2, like all of those things that make us up personally, all of those things are within you. And so within your genius, like you are the one to create oftentimes what we don't see out in the world. And this is something that I really get into with like the Founder magazine too, of like highlighting people's innovation. Like sometimes, and then this third bullet point here that says go for silly. What I mean by that is a lot of times we tend to compare what we're creating to what other people have created, and we can be judgmental of ourselves because we don't see that out in the world. And then we're like, well, this is kind of silly. I don't know, no one else is doing it. But that's because nobody has had your experiences or can see things the way that you can see them. So, like, there's a gap out there in the world that you, as an innovator, as a genius, are the one who is meant to fill it. And it might feel silly. But if you think about like the best inventions out in the world, they started from nothing. They started from like their own genius. And an example that was shared with me in my own coaching journey too is like, think of Steve Jobs and the iPhone. Like if he would have asked for everybody's input in creating an iPhone or the what we now have as basically all smartphones, and he asked everyone else, they would probably give their feedback based on what is, and we would still be operating with phones with that have buttons. But because he knows he's an innovator, that's where we are now living in this world where we have phones without buttons. And at the time, you're like, that's crazy. A phone without a button? That is silly. But it's because it hasn't been put out there yet. It hasn't been out there in the world. And so then that goes to like that middle point, like show the world and then they will show up for you. So again, create for you first. And that really goes into this second point here is that your offer is likely the thing that saved you. And I'm not saying it saved you from like a life or death moment, but maybe perhaps it was, life or death, but maybe it saved you from this like frustrations you were feeling in the workplace and you saw a different way. Maybe it saved you from this like the slow death that comes with like consistently staying in our comfort zone. And I think for me, in my own example of like how I started coaching, is I was a lost soul as a sophomore in college. I compared myself to one of my best friends who knew what she wanted to do since 10th grade. And I was so jealous of her. And I thought something was so wrong with me. Like, how can she have it so figured out? And I have no idea. And so I got to this point of just being tired of feeling lost. I went to the career counselor's office at the college I had transferred to because I had no idea what I wanted to go to school for. I sat with her. She talked to me. I didn't know her. She didn't know my family. She didn't know a whole lot of my past. But she was there and she asked questions that I hadn't ever really been asked before. She helped me process things that were coming up. And as I was sitting there in her office, I said to her, I was like, I want to do what you're doing. And I left her office that day just in tears. And I called my mom crying because I thought to myself, like, I figured it out. I figured out what I want to do and who I want to be. And that's what led me to my career in public health. So like I knew what coaching, I wanted to be a coach before I even knew coaching was a thing. And so that's how like I can talk about the power of coaching so easily is because I had that experience of being such a lost soul that I know so deeply the impact of just sitting across from a person who hears you and listens to you. And so that's what I put out in the world. That's the thing that saved me. And then further down in my journey, the hardest thing for me to do was to leave my job and shift identities of being this person who stayed in my career to then put my coaching business out there. So that then has refined the way that I help people, because again, that saved me even further. Was I was struggling with like not being satisfied at my work and thinking that something was wrong with me because I wasn't grateful enough for the job that I had, until I then sought out coaching and allowed myself to go down this path of being a person to put a business out there. And so I share my kind of two life-saving moments in my own life to remind you that you likely have your own version of a story too, where you went from feeling one way to now you're feeling another way. And there's something that happened in the middle. And what your offer is, what you're creating, what you're putting out in the world is that something that happened to you. And now you're putting your own twist, your own flavor on it to help other people. Does that make sense? Are you resonating? High five, thumbs up, nods. Okay. So now I want us to, this is the time to get out our notebooks and just spend a few minutes to write it out. And even if you're already really clear on all of these questions, it never hurts to, again, you're here for a reason, right? Like it never hurts to take the time to think about things in a different light, or to answer them like just here today. Like you are different today than you were yesterday. You've had experiences in your life that are revealing different things about you now than perhaps the last time you sat down to answer the question of like, who will get the results from this offer, aka who is my offer targeted towards? And I added in this chicken and egg picture here because I want to note like we can get specific-ish here, but know that this is just kind of like a starting point. But once you get going and start naming the way that you help people too, that you can come back to this question and answer it even more precisely. And also too, I want to say, like, you can also let this question go. Like you can know, like, okay, this is generally who I help. Then we'll go through the next questions, and this is what I do to help people. And as you get out there and start doing your work, this answer will reveal itself in a deeper way, because we don't want to get so hung up on putting our work out there that we don't even let ourselves get to experience helping anybody, that then we can't like organically answer this question by us simply doing our work. So who will get the best results from my offer? So spend a couple seconds here kind of thinking of who are the people you help, and it can be gender, non-gender, it can be age, education, life experiences. We don't always have to think of things so like age, gender, occupation too, but just like life experiences as well. I like having a presentation up, but then I can't see everybody, and I like seeing everybody too, to just gauge like who's still writing down the answers and things like that. So take another minute to just think through who your person is. And I want to remember, like, add ish, person ish. And that's the thing with all of these things, is like it's giving you a starting point. And then you go out and you do the work and you notice just how I started with like health coaching, and I had my target, I had my way of helping people. And then the more that I help people and I experienced the results that they were getting, different light bulbs started going off, and I was like, oh, okay, it's time to change it. It's time to like adjust this a little bit. So know like what you're coming up with here today isn't this thing that you're going to necessarily be married to forever, but it's naming more clearly likely than where you've been before. Okay, now I will share my screen again. Move on to the next question, which is, what results am I promising that people will get from this offer? In other words, what is the way that I am helping people? And it can be really general right now to start. It can be more precise. For me, actually, I've got like a couple different taglines that I love to use. I say like I help you go from nice girl to bold woman. Another is like going from feeling like the college experience, right? I was feeling restraint. I was feeling constricted. I was in this land of everything is wrong with me, to meeting with this woman, to then feeling like the whole world of possibility opened up. So my result that I promise to people is I help you go from restraint to possibility. Another way that I say help people is from pressure. Like I feel like I should be doing this, to peace, like what really feels right for me and resonates with me. So those are just some of my own examples of results that I like start with when naming how I help people. And I want to add too, like once we get through these questions, anyone is welcome to kind of like workshop them live here. And I think sometimes bringing up your offers or your questions in front of a group, that takes vulnerability and courage. So I always want to recognize that. But also know that it can really help other people through their own questions that they're processing. Because likely if you have a question, someone else in the space has that same question or a thought too about their offer. So we're going to move on to the next question, which is, what experience will create this result for them? And that's where we get into like the logistical kind of things, like frequency. How often will we be meeting? Timeline. And I added specifically the word generous. Like, what's a generous timeline to create this result? And I always think of like, always want to under promise and over deliver. And then the method too of like, how will you work with your clients? So for my coaching, as an example, is I work with clients on a 5 to 6 month basis. So timeline, like that's a generous timeline. We could probably get them the result that they want in a 3-month or less time period, but we are also living life. Like life comes up, things happen, we have relationships, we have illness, we have travel, we have all of these other just things in life that come up that we inevitably address in coaching together. So a 5 or 6 month timeline is generous in helping clients go from this restraint to possibility perspective when it comes to putting their businesses out there, potentially leaving their job, all of that sort of stuff. So that's like my timeline and my reasons for it. The frequency is within my coaching. I choose to meet with clients weekly. Like that feels like the most impactful way to work with people in the way that I am working with them, so that we can be proactive with the things that come up in their life, versus if it's like a greater span of time than being like reactive. So we're always like elevating our baseline instead of like having to dip down to like address things that have come up. And so weekly is my chosen frequency. For you, it might find it be like monthly, bi-weekly. Maybe your timeline for your coaching too is like you do a full day intensive, and you're very specific with that result too. And then my method is we meet over Zoom for a 45 to 60-minute session. I offer some other supports in between sessions. So that's what those question, like that's how I would answer those questions based on my current coaching offer. When you think of the experience, the frequency, the timeline, and the method. I'm going to mute myself because I've got some background noise happening here. My little girl. So as you're writing down these, I will just be here. And then our last question here is, what would be a price that feels so good to share this offer at? One that creates zero drama in your brain. And again, it's like this under promise, over deliver. Hell yes, of course, this is worth this price point. And again, that's where that work of like the result comes into, like how much is this, how valuable is this result for people? And I think of like within my coaching, one of the things is like, I just help you become okay with who you are. Like imagine a world where we're always second guessing ourselves and like wondering, am I doing this right? And we're doubting ourselves. We're experiencing low confidence or like limiting beliefs. Like to be confident and okay with who you are, that's like $1 million value, but I'm not going to price my coaching program necessarily at $1 million. So like what feels really good to offer that as and put that out there in the world. And so spend a minute here just thinking of like, what is the price that feels so good that this result is worth every penny? And so then there you have it. Like we've created an offer, but the workshop is not done today, because now the work is to love our offer, to get really clear with ourselves on like what is the value of this offer, and to be able to speak, like I said in the beginning, like speak about it so boldly and confidently too. So that again, when you're thinking about the components of your offer, it's the result. How am I helping people? What is the transformation? What are they going to do? They're going to go from here to here. Name it. What is that? And then the experience, that's that like middle part. How do I get them there? And then the investment, and remembering like this is a business. It's a transaction, it's an experience, it's a value that they're receiving from you. And so to price this at something that feels very good and sustainable for you, but also feels like it really delivers on that result as well. And so before we move on, I would love if anybody is wanting, I'm going to just check the chat here for a second. Okay, there was a question in the chat of don't overthink who you are serving. Let's see. So in the beginning, I talked about like when you're putting together your offer, like think about who you're serving, how you're helping them, and then what feels like the best experience to offer that. But no, like we're just like starting with naming that right here and now. And then as you go out and do the work and as you practice like talking about it, you get to like notice all the thoughts that come up, and that's all the work. And I said the work, as coaches, like you get it, the work to do to help you have your back even more with your offer. So does anybody want to share either maybe like their whole offer? Maybe you need help working through and walking through like what is the result that I'm offering? Who wants to, if anybody, be a brave soul and workshop it right here and now? And remember, like you bringing yours forth will help others here in this room as well. And it's free coaching.
I'll go for it.
Okay.
If you don't mind me staying off camera.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. So who'll get the best results from my offer? So I do executive one-on-one coaching, but also have created a training series for groups. And so the idea of the one-on-one is individual contributors and also leaders who are looking for a more sustainable growth plan, personally and professionally. And the results that I'm promising are psychological and physiological skill set to manage stress, emotions, negative thought patterns that impede goal achievement and overall performance. And then the frequency there would be twice a month for the first 3 months, and then one time a month as we move into the next phase, which could go for another 3 months, 6 months total. But I do think the timeline is more like 6 months to a year.
Okay.
And the method is for the one-on-ones via Zoom, and then there's text, email support, and a sprinkling of 15 to 20 minute situational, I need your take on this kind of vibe, especially as it relates to operations if I'm coaching a leader.
Okay. Love that. And then you don't have to say the price, but if you want to, like naming the price that you've set for it too and how that feels for you.
Sure. It's interesting. I just ran an exercise around raising my price from one of my original clients who I was charging $200 per session at 10 session increments. So 10 sessions would be 2,000, and then moving that to 350 as the prospect was aiming to get some organizational support. And I did this on a more I want to say intuitive, but it was really more as a result of our discovery call where I realized how much help she needed and how much of a lift it would be on my end. And so, without knowing if she was getting that organizational support, that was out of her budget. And so I just cut right to it as how much were you planning on budgeting for something like this? And if your company does not support, we can work with that because then we can use the ROI around your achievements for me to make further inroads with the organization was kind of my strategy. So I'm looking somewhere between 200, which was my entry level when I first started, up to 350 based on the per one-on-one, which includes the ongoing support that I mentioned in the other modalities, but in 10 session blocks.
Okay. And what feels like the best for you?
350, because I know people will be emailing and texting and asking for those. Hey, I have something I need to walk through. And it's getting people to understand that this isn't just the hour-long session that you're benefiting from. It's the overall presence. So definitely the 350.
Right. And two, like then the work, I guess, of like getting to there from that isn't necessarily that it's like that you're charging $350 per hour, but it's filling the gap of jumping from the 200 to the 150 and having your back from that, like 200 to 350. It's really like $150 gap that you're like having your own back on with the pricing versus like a 0 to 350 kind of package. And so when you think about this offer that you've created, how are you feeling? Are you feeling like, okay, good, it feels good to say this and put this out there? Are you noticing any sorts of like thoughts coming up in your head that aren't necessarily serving you? How are you feeling in this offer?
Good question. I've been entertaining some of these questions as of late as I strategize the streamlining of my marketing. And in this moment, the results that I'm promising kind of poured out, and it felt good to just be like, facts. This is the outcome. This is what's going to happen. And I want to tie it back to your credit on what you said about this could be the thing that saved you. And that's exactly it. The training course that I created for the groups, but then the practices that run through in the executive coaching are all of the things that I used to take myself from a very critical clinical state of burnout into recovery, health issues and all, into recovery, and then into a more sustainable trajectory through the next like 7 years of my career, which were like a rocket ship. So it was really cool to think about it the way that you presented it, which I had flirted with in my own way, but to be able to confidently say I'm the ROI proof,
right,
is very cool. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And that's something that just has come through kind of more and more, and like deeply resonates with this idea of like create for you first. And again, like it speaks to your genius of like your experiences of like, you're not the only one who has struggled in the way that you have, but you're also the one who has created a solution or has had the gumption even to like put your solution out there into the world. And you do it in your own unique way and your own unique flavor of it too, so that helps us get, and that helps you too when it comes to like naming the result, like that tangible component. Like that's when you get to get really clear with yourself and descriptive of like, here's how my life was then and here's how it is now. And like you can speak to it so much more clearly when you think of it from that way of like, this saved me. Like I was like this lost college soul who can't necessarily like relate to that of like, I was so struggling and I thought there's everything wrong with, like, you can just speak so clearly to the before and after when you think of it from that perspective of like, I saved myself, and not taking all the credit, but like I saved myself in this way by receiving this help, and now I get to create this help in a way that gets to serve more people.
100%.
Anyone else? Thank you, Melissa. Do you have any other thoughts, questions?
No, I don't. Thank you, Kelly.
Anyone else want to share what's coming up?
I can share.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Kelly. Thank you for all of this. This is fantastic. I'm not exactly sure what I'm hoping to hear back or specifically why I'm sharing, but I'm going to share anyways. I've been doing this work for quite some time, so I'm definitely the one when you asked in the beginning, one or two. I think what I'd love to hear are any thoughts on verbiage on tangible results, but I'll share everything that I have per your questions.
Okay.
So who will get the best results from my offer? Someone who's in the gerbil wheel, where movement is hard, and perhaps they keep going to either coaching or therapy, but they still find themselves in the same spot. They're ready for movement. They have a creative mindset, and maybe stuck in the corporate mentality of having a specific goal. My results, I promise they'll begin to see the value of vulnerability, that there is a new story that will emerge for them. They will discover something new about themselves, getting closer to a new identity, and finding new words and language to support a new self. The experience that I'm creating frequency. This basically is the program. I have a program instead of doing one-on-one work. It's a gateway to understand narrative coaching. That program is a 6-week program. It's 1.5 hours a week where we work as a group. And in that program, they now get one-on-one offering in the middle and at the end. So it's kind of a collective. I think I answered that question.
You did, yeah.
And then number 4 is what price point feels good? This program is $9.97. I feel like it's a steal of a deal. There are days I want to increase it, but I actually love it at this price point. I think my next step is offering a community where they'll continue to grow with these tools. And that I'm imagining is probably at a steeper price point. So I know they're getting a steal of a deal at $1,000 with one-on-one coaching and this group support that they're getting. And women are doing, like you, they're doing amazing things after that maybe were not even initially attached to what they thought coming in. So again, I think messaging has always been a challenge for me, especially as my platform has evolved. So open to any thoughts.
Okay, I love that. And I have like a cheat here because I've been in one of your programs and I have worked with you. So I can talk to the results of it too. I am a result of it. No, but there is, so you brought up like wanting to know, like kind of getting more clear on naming the tangible results. Is that kind of where you're feeling like a little bit of a, I want to say too, like, it's like naming our offer in a way that makes us feel alive. Like, how do we describe? We know the magnitude of our work is so huge, but like, what is like naming it? Like, yes, that's it. That's like hitting the nail on the head when you describe it that way. That's kind of something I'm seeing. So when you talked about like who you're helping, it's that person on the gerbil wheel where movement is hard, but yet they're ready for movement. And I kind of want to hear that. It's like there's this restless tension inside a person of, because like on a gerbil wheel, they are moving, but they're not going anywhere.
Right.
Right. Like that's where like the restlessness comes in. How I interpret that. And I love how you talked about like it's kind of like this dance. You're doing a dance between coaching and therapy, but nothing's really like clicking or working. And what differentiates your practice is this like honing in and getting really specific on what are the narratives you're consistently bringing to therapy? What are the narratives you're consistently bringing to coaching that feel like they aren't getting you anywhere? And that kind of speaks to that off the gerbil wheel. And I'm just looking at the notes I took here, like the corporate mentality of having a goal. That I love that, because I think that says volumes of this and that kind of goes to this tangible kind of thing. It's like, we're not the work of this is beyond something you can put your finger on. It's not a SMART goal. It's not this striving thing. It's this finally being thing.
Yeah, I think that's there's something in that, because there's this idea of the person that this works really well for is somebody who they have a creative spirit, so that corporate mindset is keeps you in a box.
Mhm.
And so I think there's a freedom of breaking out of that, but not knowing how. So that goes back to the gerbil wheel. Like if you're in the mindset and you've done corporate work and maybe still even do it after going through the coaching, like this isn't career coaching. So, but your mindset is in that formula, but you actually naturally are a creative person in some aspect. So it becomes hard to figure out how to make movement in your own personal life, because you're not on a day-to-day basis even doing it in your work life. So I think there's something in there that I'm playing with now. And like I said, that's like the person coming out has new words, new language to themselves, and a new discovery in that. So,
And for that then too, like speaking of the results, is why do they want a new discovery?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Or why?
They're not happy in whatever it is, whether it's personal or their career. I mean, they end up coming to me for a variety of different reasons. And I wouldn't say not happy. And I don't like the word stuck, so I have an issue with the word stuck. But it is not knowing how to change, not knowing how to move, based on the stories they're telling themselves.
Mhm.
So I didn't answer your question, but it is a good question.
Or it's like, start telling yourself stories that get you going where you want to be. I mean, that's like a real rough like interpretation of that, but that's like a basic high level takeaway that then you get to like play with even further. Learn how to tell yourself stories that get you, I don't want to say to the top, because that goes to that corporate mentality, but like to your Everest, maybe that's different than the top. But there's something there with like what you're telling, the stories you're living in now have you spinning and you're ready to go. That like restless tension. And knowing like why that matters to people.
Thank you. That's helpful.
And not to like give you a testimonial here now, but I can say like from my own experience, like that matters, because I love my grandma a lot more than I did before, like just seeing this work of like, oh, there's stories of judgment all around me, and I was number one judge of it all. That like the relationships in my life began to flourish because I saw my own stories.
And you didn't know that was what was actually in your way when we first started.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's a tangible result too. Like this restless gerbil wheel running is like, I don't know what's in my way. This thing just keeps going round and round in circles. So like I'm moving, you know? So it's like you help identify the block for people. Potentially, possibly. Okay, we'll take time for like one more quick one, then I have some more slides to go through as well. And if we're feeling good, that's good.
I'm willing to go, Kelly.
Okay. Hi, Heather.
Okay, so from the survey earlier, I am a 2. This is a new start for me, so coming at it from a little bit different angle, but who will get the best results for my offer? The initial part I wrote down was moms, and then I transitioned and kept looking at that further, that it's not just gonna be moms, it'll be dads, it'll be the kids, it'll be their future families, and it'll be those moms who are wanting generational change and to leave a legacy. What results I'm promising people will get from this offer is to be a calmer mom, that they'll fall deeper in love with their spouse. They'll go from overwhelmed to peace at their home. They'll have guidance through their new identity, or you could say role, stepping into motherhood, and also being able to leave a legacy. So the experience that I would create are how it would be weekly one-on-one coaching from a 3 to 6 month time frame, depending on which worked better. Looking at that as a Zoom offer with that like 45-minute session with the weekly access outside of that. Trying to navigate that as motherhood can be wild, how to make that work for that time, but hopefully 45 minutes would be good, and then being accessible throughout. And then as I put a price, I went back and forth a little bit on this, but at 3 months, I put that at $1,000, and 6 months potentially at a $2,000 price. And that's something I still toy with, of thinking, what is that like, especially as you're a new parent who has tons of costs coming at you at one time.
Okay. I love it. And okay, so I think that's everything. So then one like offer of feedback when it comes to the results too, and this, like, there's these 2 options for the time frame, is bringing yourself back to like what feels like the most helpful time frame for people. And the reason why I am bringing you back to that is because you think about when you offer like your coaching services or something to people, and you give them like one offer, what they're really sitting with is 3 decisions. So with every one offer, it's like multiplying 3 decisions, and then we get into decision like overwhelm. So with one offer, it's definitely yes, definitely no, or perhaps like a no that like would love to be a yes. And so the more like streamlined and concrete you can be with like just like workshopping here today, one offer, like you get to remember that of like I'm posing 3 options to a person with this one option, or 3 decisions that they inevitably are working through. So that's just why I'm kind of bringing it back to like the 3 months or the 6 months, is like for you to decide takes off then that further decision making on their end, when they're looking to you to be like the expert, like you tell me how you can help me best, right?
Perfect.
And so maybe it's 3 months that feels right for you. Maybe it's 6 months, or maybe it's like somewhere in the middle, but kind of like bringing that back to mind and remembering that as well.
Perfect.
And were there specific questions about this offer, or like anything like you're noticing coming to mind that you're like, oh, can we like touch on that quick?
No, it was more that teeter-totter between those 2. So that was super helpful to help to navigate that down and not thinking about those additional decisions that are already be there.
Right. One of my friends that is a copywriter, she helped me put together my website, and she has a background in sales, and she just shared with me this like jelly example. Like if you go into a store and there's 3 kinds of jelly, grape jelly, strawberry, or I don't know, peach, it's easy to choose one. Okay, I definitely don't like peach. I could have grape anytime. I want strawberry. So you go right for the strawberry. But if you're in a store and there's like strawberry raspberry, strawberry mango, like all these varying things, you get overwhelmed and you're like, oh, I don't actually need any. I'm good. I'm gonna go. And so it's like, how can we work with the people that we're helping and think of it on like their end and simplify their decision as much as possible, which goes back to then like being in love with your offer. If you can like know like this result is worth its weight in gold, like your results, Heather, that's like worth $1 bajillion to just have a more peaceful home. And you can think about and extract like all the impact that has, then it makes it that much easier for you to tell people like, this is why this work matters. This is the impact you can expect. And so here's what I recommend for you to get there. And then they can more easily say like, oh, okay, perfect. I trust you because you know what you're talking about. So that's the option I'm going to choose.
Nice.
Kind of thinking.
I love it. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
This is Jennifer. I have a question for you. So what I'm hearing you say is like maybe we have different offers or packages, but when we go to the client, like for us to be really clear, like based on what I've heard from you, what you're looking for, I'm going to recommend a 3-month package. Another conversation I could say I'd be recommending what, I think what would really be beneficial would be a 6-month package. So
Yes.
that's I'm all in, yes, I'm all out, no, or I want that to be yes, versus what you're saying is don't give them multiple options. We might have those in our portfolio, but only present one offer. Is that what you're saying to us?
Yeah, yes, I am in a way of, like, let's say you have multiple offers where like, within yourself, like when a person, I'm on a console or connecting with them and they say this, like, I know that this offer here is the fit. That's what I'm going to recommend. Versus if they're saying like this over here, like that, your offers so well that you can recommend like, and you could even say like, I have these 2 options available, but based off of what you're saying and to like really help you get where you want to be, this is the most impactful and effective way of getting there. So this is what I would recommend. So that because you are the expert of your result, you're the expert of your work. And so when you're listening to them, you can more easily, and then, then there's that work too of like, coaching them on their objections, right? Like maybe like they want the lesser of the one of the 2 because they too know that this bigger one is going to help them, but there's like the pricing objections and those sorts of things, which I have on the next couple of slides with the few minutes we have. So it's just, it's okay for you to have multiple offers available, but like always remember thinking of like they're the buyer. Like, here's what I would recommend for you. And then perhaps then the conversation goes from there.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question or make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Does anyone else have questions? Okay. I do want to go over just a couple more slides. We've got about 13 minutes left and I want to be respectful of your time here. Okay, so one thing we always want to take into consideration too is anticipate the obstacles. So where might a person start to develop objections for your offer and what might those be? And ahead of time, I wrote down some for us to think about is like there's money often is an objection. And I always say too, like, it's never actually about the money. There's something there underneath it. Time, it shows up as like, I need to ask my husband. I had a client say like, oh, I'm remodeling my floors. I'm going on vacation. Like objections can come up in all sorts of ways. And it's like, okay, how do I address these? And for me, it's like, is your peace of mind, like what's the greater value for you? Like walking on floors you love or like loving your life and then the floors can come later, like just knowing, being prepared with like, what are the objections that people might bring forth to you? Or like, I need to ask my husband is one that comes up often for like clients. And then it's like, well, what's really going on there? What do you think your husband would say? A lot of times their husbands are fine. And I might add, like 90% of the time, the partner in your home is the one who wins the most. We are sleep training my daughter, and the real winner of this whole thing is likely going to be my husband, because I am going to be kinder and calmer and less frazzled in the evening. So we'll have a calmer home after like the kids go to bed, and we'll have a well-rested daughter who will perhaps like her dad more when she's less ornery. So it's like thinking of those things too, like what are the benefits that like others in our life will receive from this result that I'm promising or helping people with, because those likely will come up too as like objections of like, oh, my partner isn't on board, or he or she thinks that spending money on this is ridiculous, or like now isn't the time because I'm going on a trip, or like just all these objections come up. And sometimes too, like you can agree with people too with their objections, like you're right, this isn't a low investment, small investment that you're making. And to like also like make them not wrong for their objections, I feel like just goes a long way in helping a person, because it just reveals like the humanity, right? And it helps them see like this is the value of this. I understand, this is probably more than I've paid for some other things in my life, but the impact is worth it. And I'm willing to have those conversations with people in my life to do this. And so as coaches, you get to like, when you know those objections and anticipate the obstacles ahead of time, you get to be more and more prepared for them as well.
I love the question you just said. So like when the person says, I'm gonna check with my spouse, like what would they say? And I love the second question is, well, how might you going into coaching benefit your partner or spouse? I think that could be very powerful in the conversation to make it a yes.
Yeah. Even like just the question, like, what do you think they'll say, is huge, because it's 99% of the time it's not their part. Like realistically, a lot of times, common, I don't want to say all the time, but our partners do want us to be well, and then there is sometimes it's like the financial conversation, the time conversation, but then it's the question too, like where in what other ways are you not willing to advocate for what you want or need? Like all of these objections are things that we get to coach on as coaches to reveal the deeper things that are going on. And then there's like this balance and dance between like, you don't want to, I do not want to ever be a pressure person. I want people to land at a decision that feels really good for them. Even if it's a no, I want the no to feel amazing. And I don't want the no to be like, now I'm resentful at my partner, like then there's more underneath that to like work through. Any other thoughts or questions about the like kind of anticipating objections or obstacles that might come up? Okay, and then one thing too to just bring into the picture here is like with the results that you're offering, like remember you're not God. So not everything is going to be in your control in like helping your client achieve these results. And so it's really helpful for you to know for yourself, like what is within my control and what isn't. Like what's within my control is I'm going to show up to every session. I'm going to be prepared for every session. I'm going to have these certain materials prepared ahead of time. I'm going to have my communications in order. What's not in my control is perhaps your own self getting sick at times, your client getting sick, emergencies that come up. Like just knowing these helps you, again, like see what could potentially come up, and remember like you're both humans, but like a lot of times I think we tend to not be able to believe that we can really create this result or help our clients achieve this result. And something too that's not in your control is what your clients do between sessions, like how deeply perhaps they apply the work or how much they follow through with the homework and those sorts of things. And what is in your control is perhaps bringing that up in sessions and asking and coaching through that itself. So to just kind of make a list for yourself of like what is in my control and what is not within my control. And then I also want to talk about something called the belief triangle. This is a concept I learned from Stacey Bayman. She's a coach out there in the world who helps people sell coaching, and she's amazing. And one of the concepts, and I don't know if this is originally from her, but I learned it from her, so that's where I'm putting the credit, is this concept of the belief triangle. And we can approach this in two different ways. Is like, first, one belief triangle is like the judgmental triangle. Like, where am I judging myself in my ability to help people? Where am I judging clients? And noticing like, ooh, even like hearing that, like, I judge clients. No, I don't. You might. There might be judgments that you have, or, you know, like a judgment I held for a while is like, I like, these are the people I want to help. But my thought or judgment was like, they actually can't afford coaching. Well, that's not going to help you. So it like, but it does help to see that that thought is there. And then there's also judgments of your offer. Like, what am I thinking about my offer? Where am I still like kind of in friction with it a little bit? And then you get to take that judgmental triangle and rework it into creating beliefs that do serve you. Like, what do you need to believe about yourself to be able to put this offer out there and to be able to help people? What do you need to believe about your clients? Like, my clients are capable, my clients are resourceful, they're awesome, they want to make this change. Like Lisa, like they're willing to get off the hamster wheel, like, you know, those sorts of things. And then too, like your offer of like, heck yeah, $9.97 for this is like worth every penny and more. I know like the change that happens is so profound. Of course, this is an amazing offer. So to kind of work yourself through that belief triangle will help you see all the sneaky judgments that are there. And for me, it like rocked my world when I saw like judgments of clients. I was like, nah, but we do sometimes judge the people we're helping. And then to turn those into ways that serve you. So making it a belief triangle too. And then next steps. Okay, so you've created your offer. What's next? Believe in yourself, believe in offer, believe in clients, and like on repeat, daily. Like, where am I not in belief with myself, with my clients, with my offer, and where can I then be in more belief of it? Your story arc of like, what is the transformation that I've gone through for myself? Again, that's like what saved you. Like you started feeling here, now you're feeling 18 billion times better. What happened in the middle? And like knowing that and naming that helps you talk so much more clearly about the way that you can help people. Then you kind of nail down like, what is the curriculum? Or in other words, like just like taking an assessment too, like what are the tools I have in my toolbox? How do I deliver these to my clients? Getting clear on your values, knowing like you are the asset. So advocating for your own self, like as a business owner, like your business can't be what your business it could be if you aren't taking care of you. So bringing your self-care back to the forefront, marketing your business. And again, that goes hand in hand with like falling in love with your offer, meeting people, telling them about the ways that you can help them, like expanding your network. And practicing introducing yourself in 80 different ways. This is something each month I host something called a founder circle. It's a free like networking event. And every time we open up the call and I have people introduce themselves, I tell them to pay attention to the way that you introduce yourself, to notice like how you feel, because you being in those networking things isn't for other people to hear you so much as for you to like have your back even more deeply in talking about who you are and how you help people, so that you can just say it with so much confidence and with so much certainty. And also making celebration, like make that a habit. Like you're always going to fix your eyes on what is working and what is going well. And those are next steps are a lot of things that I help clients with and work through in their one-on-one coaching together in different programs that I offer. So we are at time and we have like literally 1 minute left. And I want to just open the space to open up the room and ask if anybody has any last questions, comments, thoughts, concerns. And I'm checking the chat here too. Oh, you shared some ways to connect. Thank you, Carla.
Being that we're at the end, I wanted to make sure that you all knew where to find Kelly. And so go ahead and copy paste that into your own computer. And we will be sending out a recording of this as well. So if you want to experience it a second time. Back to you, Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you all for being here today. And if anybody does have a quick question we can answer, I'm happy to hang out, but I also want to know if it's time for you to go, you can go. But
Kelly, on behalf of CCO board members, thank you very much for supporting us today and this powerful learning. Appreciate you. Thank you.
yes, absolutely. It's an honor to be here and to meet and see all of you. And I hope this even just moves the needle just 1 degree further for you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody being here, and have a wonderful day.